All right, today we are completely flipping how we look at fasting. Listen, most of us are absolutely terrified of skipping a meal, right? We're convinced our muscles are going to just waste away or our blood sugar is going to immediately crash. We've basically been taught to view fasting as just another word for starvation. But science tells a completely different story. Fasting is not starvation. It's actually a sophisticated biological switch. It's this incredibly ancient mechanism that unlocks our body's ultimate backup generator. And when we flip it, we initiate profound cellular repair, deep mental clarity, and highly targeted fat loss. So think about our modern world for a second. We are basically always eating. Most of us eat across a 14 to 16-hour window every single day. And because of this, our bodies are constantly running on the main power grid, meaning the incoming food from our very last meal. But what happens when you literally never unplug from that main grid? Well, your body gets locked out of its own reserves. Just think about it. You are walking around carrying tens of thousands of calories of stored energy, but you literally cannot access them. Your body just never gets the signal to make the switch. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture your energy reserves as two completely different systems. First up, you have the pantry. This is your glycogen and your blood sugar. It's fast, it's super convenient, and it's your body's preferred fuel when you're eating normally. But here's the catch. The pantry is tiny. It only holds enough energy for maybe half a day of normal activity. Then you have the deep freeze. This is your stored body fat, which your liver converts into these amazing molecules called ketones. This is a massive, high-density, long-term energy reserve. I mean, even a lean adult carries enough stored fat to fuel their body for weeks. But the problem is, you simply can't open the deep freeze as long as you keep restocking the pantry. So in this explainer, here's our roadmap for what happens when we finally stop restocking the pantry. We'll cover flipping the metabolic switch, brain power and hypoglycemia, weight loss and gender, autophagy, inflammation and cancer, and we'll wrap up with cardiovascular health. All right, let's kick things off with part 1, flipping the metabolic switch. So the actual physical key to unlocking your fat cells, it's insulin. Every single time you eat, insulin rises to deal with that incoming sugar, and that keeps your fat cells chemically locked. But look at this incredible biological timeline when external food stops. At around 12 hours, your insulin drops significantly. The lock on your fat cells lifts, fat oxidation begins, and your liver starts pumping out those ketones. By 24 hours, we enter a state of deep cellular repair. Damaged proteins are being recycled, and human growth hormone spikes dramatically. We're talking sometimes up to 2,000%. This acts as a biological preservation order to fiercely protect your muscle mass. And if you safely push to 72 hours, your body initiates a profound immune system reset. It clears out old dysfunctional immune cells and primes stem cells to build brand new, more efficient ones. It is just such an elegant, perfectly sequenced operation. Moving right along to part 2, brain power and hypoglycemia. Let's talk about fueling the mind. There is this massive misconception out there that skipping a meal is going to lead to dangerous weakness, terrible brain fog, and just a total loss of focus. But actually, when you fast, your brain shifts from running on sugar to running on ketones. And let me tell you, ketones are an incredible energy source. They produce significantly less oxidative stress during combustion than glucose does. Basically, it's a remarkably clean-burning fuel. It stabilizes your neuronal firing patterns and quiets down mental noise. This is exactly why people who fast consistently report this profound sense of calm, sharp focus, and intense mental clarity. Your brain isn't starving at all. It's just been handed a premium, much steadier fuel. Now, you're probably wondering, but what about the hunger? What about crashing blood sugar? Well, true hunger is driven by a hormone called ghrelin. And here's the secret. It isn't some escalating emergency that gets worse and worse. It rises in a wave that naturally falls within about 20 minutes, even if you don't need a single thing. It's mostly just a habit signal from your body. Plus, during a normal fast, your blood sugar naturally stabilizes as fat burning takes over. True, dangerous hypoglycemia during a fast is primarily a risk for people who are already on specific blood sugar medications, like insulin. For a healthy person, your brain actually gets an upgrade. Fasting causes a massive surge in something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it like Miracle-Gro for your brain. It literally fertilizes the growth of new neural connections. Okay, part 3, weight loss and gender. Let's decode the scale. Now, what's really interesting about this data is that weight loss during a fast isn't just a simple, boring math equation of calories in versus calories out. It is a highly dynamic process, and it's heavily influenced by our unique biology, our starting weight, and, yep, our gender. Real-world clinical data from the Buchinger-Wilhelmy clinics shows us some truly fascinating biological differences. When they looked at a huge data set of over 1,400 participants, they found that after a 5-day fast, women lost an average of 2.7 kilograms, while men lost an average of 3.9 kilograms. And stretched out to 21 days, women lost 7.3 kilograms, while men dropped over 11 kilograms. Now, men typically lose a bit more initial weight, mostly because they tend to have higher average starting muscle mass and a higher baseline energy expenditure. But it begs the question, what exactly are we losing when we step on that scale? Let's look at a controlled 10-day fast. Participants here lost about 5.9 kilograms on average. But check out the breakdown. It is not purely fat. Yes, we see 2.4 kilograms of fat mass lost, which is great, but there's also 1.6 kilograms of water, half a kilo of glycogen, and then 1.5 kilograms labeled lean mass. So wait, does that mean we're losing muscle? Let's clear up exactly what those numbers mean because it's super important. That early, rapid weight loss you see on the scale, that is primarily driven by glycogen depletion. See, glycogen acts like a sponge for water inside your body, so as you burn through that stored sugar, your body releases all that bound-up water. And crucially, that lean mass lost in the chart, that is mostly water, connective tissue, and transient organ mass. It is absolutely not your skeletal muscle. Remember that massive spike in human growth hormone we talked about earlier? That acts as a biological preservation order to protect your vital muscle. So instead of eating your biceps, your body intelligently targets the most dangerous, highly inflammatory visceral fat that's wrapped around your organs. Which brings us to part 4, autophagy, inflammation, and cancer. The cellular demolition crew. So, when we stop constantly feeding the body, we actually turn off the biological switch for growth, and we flip on a process called autophagy. Translated from Greek, it literally means self-eating. Now, I know how that sounds, but I promise your body isn't panicking and randomly cannibalizing itself. Far from it. It's actually a highly precise, deeply targeted cellular cleanup and recycling system. And it only fully activates when the incoming nutrient supply completely stops and your hormone insulin falls. Think of it like a massive demolition and recycling operation being run simultaneously across trillions of individual job sites in your body. You are essentially activating a microscopic cellular janitor. It actively hunts down broken, leaking mitochondria, the power plants of your cells, as well as misfolded proteins that actively cause aging and disease. By dissolving all this molecular garbage and recycling the raw materials, your body dramatically drops its overall systemic inflammation. You aren't just enduring or surviving a fast, you are literally renovating your entire biology from the inside out. And this brilliantly illustrates a really important mechanism highlighted by clinical experts like Dr. Boz, specifically regarding how this environment impacts disease. See, healthy cells are incredibly adaptable. When the sugar runs out, they just seamlessly switch over to burning fat and ketones for fuel. Cancer cells, on the other hand, are highly dependent on a continuous, steady supply of sugar for their energy. They completely lack metabolic flexibility. So when you enter a state of ketosis, you drop your blood sugar and you elevate those ketones. Your healthy cells thrive on the premium ketones, but the cancer cells, they are essentially starved of the sugar they desperately need to survive. Finally, let's look at part 5. Cardiovascular health, repairing the heart. Fasting doesn't just repair individual cells, it profoundly impacts your entire cardiovascular system. Now, when assessing heart health, a lot of people just hyper-focus on their total cholesterol. But clinical experts like Dr. Sten Ekberg point out that looking solely at total cholesterol mass can actually be incredibly misleading. What truly actually matters is your LDL particle count and the size of those specific particles. Having a high number of small, dense LDL particles is the true, crucial indicator of cardiovascular plaque risk. Why? Because those tiny, dense particles can easily slip into the microscopic cracks of your blood vessels and cause dangerous inflammatory blockages. Less than 90. That is the magic number we're looking at here. Dr. Ekberg actually shared a really dramatic clinical example using his own blood work before and after a multi-day fast. Interestingly, his total cholesterol actually went up, which by the way happens naturally as fat is mobilized into the blood for energy. But his count of those highly dangerous, small, dense LDL particles plummeted from 351 all the way down to less than 90. The particles literally got larger, fluffier, and safer. This just perfectly demonstrates the profound anti-inflammatory repair of the cardiovascular system, triggered quite simply by abstaining from food. So here's the bottom line. Fasting is absolutely not a diet. It's a fundamental maintenance program that your biology has been running for millions of years. When you fast, you lower insulin, you finally open up your fat stores, you fuel your brain with high-grade ketones, you preserve your vital muscle, you clear out dangerous cellular debris, and you literally starve damaged cells of the sugar they crave. So the final question I want to leave you with today is this. Are you going to stay constantly stuck on that main power grid, or is it finally time to give your cells the uninterrupted silence they desperately need to heal themselves? Stay curious, and I highly encourage you to safely explore your own metabolic flexibility.